Question 1. In what ways does your media product use, develop or challenge forms and conventions of real media products? My poster. Font choice. For my font, I knew it had to be something recognisable and easily relatable to my brand. This would mean it needed to stand out and be as unique as possible. Although I wanted to do this, I wanted the poster to conform to standard conventions of a slasher horror film. The font is very bold and easily visible to an audience. I used a sans serif font for my horror film and kept this font throughout all of my media products to keep the house style, which means it will look more professional, polished and aesthetically pleasing to the audience. When looking back at my analysis, I found that this was the right thing to do, as both of these carry the conventions of typical slasher films. The sans serif font is used in other films like Friday the 13th and the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre films, showing that it is a typical convention of horror films. Similar to the type of font, the colour of font in these films also show that red and white for a colour choice is a common one. Scream 4 and Halloween 2 both use red and white for their poster. I decided to also use these colours as red could connote danger and the white stands out to the audience, attracting their attention. To conform to almost all film posters, I use steel tongs on my billing block at the bottom. This is a standard feature of most posters. Tagline. My tagline for the film is, "He'll make sure there is no escape." This is a simple metaphor to the actual storyline of the film, giving a hint at a film full of narrative hooks, which is typical of a slash film. It also simply attracts the attention of the audience, potentially persuading them to watch the film. Both of the film posters that I analysed had taglines that relate to the story, even if they aren't apparent at the first time of seeing the tagline. Halloween 2's tagline is, "Family is forever," which is a hint at the previous Halloween films. Scream 4's is, "Someone is about to rewrite the rules," again another hint at the previous Scream films. Image/effects of my image. My main image is a shot of the killer in my film escaping through a hole in a brick wall. This is juxtaposition to my actual tagline, as the killer is the one escaping from the camera, maybe not wanting to be seen. In most slasher films, they keep the face of the killer hidden until the end of the film, and in some cases, they don't even show the face, so I thought not even showing the whole body would be developing on the convention. We do see a knife though, which is a classic piece of iconography in slasher films, so making this object so obvious and visible is conventional of a slasher horror film. The framing of the shot was something that isn't taken into consideration for most slashers. For example, the Halloween 2 poster sees the killer just in the open. For my poster, I used a broken down wall with electric wires running around it to focus the attention on the killer, but also to set the scene for the film. This could be an example of challenging a convention, as hardly any slasher films frame their killers. But it was not an intentional decision to go against this convention. This could be an example of developing the convention of having the killer as the main focus of the poster though, by framing it, centering the attention on the killer. I took the photo with a little bit of fuzziness on it to make it look like the character of the film has taken it, along with a bit of a blur to create more of a mystery around the killer, further challenging the convention of imagery in the main image. This could increase the attention of the film to the audience by making it a little bit different. My questionnaire showed that 70% said there didn't need to be any action on the poster. I took this into consideration and tried to create a more semantic feel, suggesting things rather than showing them. Additional conventional features. Below my billing block are 2 logos. These are institution logos that would have contributed to my film. This is conventional to nearly every film poster that I've seen, even ones that aren't horror posters. This could attract the attention of viewers that have previously seen films by Dimension Films that are also horrors, such as Scream 4, which was one of the films I analysed for my research. I also gave the address of the website for the film, which was simply to promote the website, increasing the amount of interaction the audience had with the film. This also complies with modern horrors that have websites available to promote. Website. I've changed my image on my website a couple of times to get one that represents my genre perfectly and give the audience an insight to the film. I tried to use iconography in my poster, but felt this didn't hit the audience hard enough, so I included my killer and more things going on. My victim will be placed lower in the shot to show she is inferior to the killer. The knife also repeats iconography that is typical of slasher films. I put a texture effect on the picture to seem more gritty and give the website a darker feel. This also happens in the Halloween 2 poster, as the lighting is strong but gloomy, creating a nice dirty feel, typical of slasher films. Also, the character is shown raising his knife, which shows he is also attacking someone. My killer uses his knife again, which is an example of iconography used in many slasher films, especially Texas Chainsaw Massacre, as it has the weapon in the title. Having the killer as the main focus on my poster and website made the two texts feel related and easier for the audience to recognise the film. The navigation bar is a very conventional feature of film websites, but they can be interpreted in different ways to stand out to the audience. My navigation bar's colour of font is opposite to that of the poster. On my poster, my title is white and the other information is red, so switching this around is just an easy little method of keeping the audience attracted. This is developing a convention of house style and keeping everything the same throughout their products. My website includes a simple row of words, giving the audience an easy and enjoyable time on my website. I try to keep the website simple and conclusive, which challenges most websites in today's age, as both Scream 4 and Halloween 2 include complicated websites with lots of features, 99% of which won't even be used by the audience. To keep the house style of my media products, and ultimately the conventional style of all of my media products, my website uses the exact same font as a website and captions within the trailer. The colours red and white have been used throughout all of my media products, even with the lighting in some situations, such as the lighting in my trailer. These colours both stand out from my background of dark and gloomy shades. This is conventional of all film websites. I would embed my finished trailer onto the website. This would increase the views for the trailer, but also show that the connection between the two products, if they hadn't already made the relation. The video would be seamlessly embedded onto the page, making it look like a part of the actual picture. This is conventionally standard as the player on the Halloween 2 website, the Scream 4 website and other horror websites, which I did not analyse. Similar to my poster, I placed an institution logo that contributed towards the production of the film. This keeps the house style but also attracts the audience to stay on the website once they've clicked on it, a common convention of film websites. Unlike the poster I produced that I placed logos of social networking websites at the bottom of the website, this is irrelevant on posters. By clicking on these icons, the website will take them to the chosen networking site and straight to the official film account on the specified website. For example, if the viewer clicks the Facebook logo, it will take them to the Destitute official movie page. This improves customer interaction with the film and potentially shaping the way the film would end up. This is conventional on almost all websites that are not just horror. Trailer. Halloween 2 is a slasher film that does not set conventions but merely uses conventions that are already in place for slasher films. The trailer starts off with a disequilibrium which continues throughout the trailer, and in fact there doesn't seem to be any real equilibrium. There seems to be a lot of clashes and bright flashes to scare the audience, called jump scares. These are conventional with slasher films. The trailer also uses a lot of captions to develop narrative. This is conventional of all films, not just slasher horror films. Halloween 2 even includes the tagline for the film in one of the captions. The trailer uses a lot of dim and gritty lighting, which suits the film and is also conventional of representation of the genre. The knife is shown quite a lot in the trailer, which is a typical piece of iconography in this genre of film. There is a montage towards the end that quickly builds the pace, typical to horror slasher films, as it depicts the actual pace of the story. Scream 4 also uses this equilibrium at the start, but unlike Halloween 2 goes back to equilibrium, in which the characters are unaware of a threat. The Scream 4 trailer uses a lot of captions also to help develop the story, but also to create enigmas around the narrative, which is conventional of horror films, as they usually include some sort of twist within the film, which is usually to do with the identity of the killer. This is especially effective in films that have the killer wearing a mask like Scream 4. This trailer also uses jump scares a lot, using the convention of slasher films. As there is nothing supernatural to scare the audience, the genre relies on jump scares and sometimes gore to do the work. The clothing in the trailer is typical of slasher films, as they usually use teenagers as the main cast. This gives them a sense of vulnerability and makes the audience feel as if the victims are defenceless. The trailer uses a lot of iconography with not just the knife but also the mask, as this is an easily recognisable part of the Scream branding. Something that isn't really that typical of slashers, as they tend not to show much of the killer, and maybe not even any of the facial region till the end of the film. This film also doesn't use much of a montage, which is unconventional with slasher films, just a little increase in pace of editing but a steady build up to a satisfying ending. My trailer. For my editing of the trailer, I wanted to make sure the audience knew it was a horror film. To accomplish this, I used a lot of quick editing for jump scares to also keep pace of the other horror film trailers the same for mine. This includes the montage at the end, which is used in Halloween 2 and other slasher films. I decided to use this method of editing as I felt it was required to make my film feel more conventional, also keeping the audience on their toes. I also use a video filter called Bad Film. This gives the footage a more gritty and scary feel, as if it is playing on an old TV. This creates an atmosphere which is conventional to slash films, as they like to create tension for the audience. The sound in my trailer is copyright-free tracks off of GarageBand. They also create an eerie atmosphere throughout the trailer. I did not use this soundtrack within my Equilibrium, as this is not typical of most slasher films, due to the initial happy tone of a trailer. I use increases in volume to dictate the jump scares. This helps the effectiveness of the scares, which I saw Halloween 2 do, and other slasher films alike. They use loud noises to coincide with the scares, also to increase the overall effectiveness of them.
For God's sake, Jack!
I tried to incorporate a lot of iconography into my trailer, as this is a massive part of slasher films. I saw in not only Halloween 2 and Scream 4, but other slasher films that the knife seems to be the only object they make most notable. I felt I had to use this convention and placed several shots of it within my trailer. I repeat these types of shots to keep the knife in mind of the audience, constantly making them aware of the genre of the film. The outfit of the killer is also kept the same all the way through, showing glimpses of it, and rarely showing him in the full. Halloween 2 does this by using shadows and bright light to cover some parts of the killer, whereas Scream 4 doesn't take that into consideration as much. For my mise-en-scène, I decided to make my costumes for the characters feel summery, and set the tone of the film as Equilibrium all the way through, according to their costumes. None of them have a weapon either, which increases the vulnerability of the teenagers. At the start of my trailer, when there is equilibrium, there is bright sunshine to connote safety and happiness, but as I progress towards the disruption part of the trailer, the lighting seems to get dimmer and gloomier to suggest that things have taken a turn for the worse. This is conventional of a slasher trailers and also full films. I challenged a convention in my film due to me only having one female. This is not typical of most slasher films, as there is nearly always another girl to die. It is also unconventional in most films to have a female as the main character. But slasher films seem to be different, as Scream 4 and Halloween 2 both use females as the main characters. People typically see women as weaker to men stereotypically, so filmmakers generally tend to keep the male as the protagonist to conform to real life stereotypes. I use captions on my film to help create enigmas within the trailer, but also to develop the narrative of my trailer. This is definitely typical and conventional of horror slasher films, as they are used in every one I have seen. As slasher films love a twist, they keep the narrative well hidden, but give enigmas, like clues to keep the audience guessing what is going to happen. I felt I could develop this convention by giving enigmatic captions, but also giving more narrative than usual slasher films would. This is to entice the audience a little bit more to see my film. I also use my tagline in one of the captions. I saw this in Halloween 2, and also, although not a convention, I thought it was a good idea, as it keeps the house style and also keeps the tagline in their head.